रुद्रभाषो वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम तत्सत। Give me a little time. I'll just share that page with you so that you can quickly refer to them. Yeah, now I have got the page, so I'll share. Discussing what is Shastriya Dvaita, what is Asastriya Dvaita. We are dealing with dualities in our everyday life. The Acharya, the Vedanta philosophy of Vidyaranya Muni, he is advising us. There is Jiva Srishti and there is Ishvara Srishti. Ultimately, all Srishtis are stories only. Only Brahman is real. Nothing else is real. But during the process of creation, this so called, during this process of your spiritual evolution, you have to look at the basic material foundation provided to us as sadhaka, as contributing to our spiritual sadhana. So even though Advaita is ultimately fine during sadhana dasa, he says even the manasika dvaita, the jiva srishti part, so the asastriya dvaita, which is creation of the mind. Sastriya dvaita is what? This there is sastriya and asastriya dvaita. So far jiva srishti is concerned. You distinguish that the Ishvara Srishti refers to the material foundation, air, water, fire, all these, plants and water, and because this is all given by God. Ultimate thing I'm not keeping in mind. Don't confuse. There are 3, 4 levels in Advaita Vedanta. The ultimate thing is everything is Brahman only. Then you'll say, why are you then talking about Srishti? This is in contradiction with the ultimate truth. Yeah, this is a transitory phase, and this is a particular relative theory that we are bringing into question. Relatively, these are true for a while. Ultimately, they are not true, they are not relevant. So, that is how you can look at it. So, now the question is that during this relative Dvaita or the diversity with which we are all moving, there is something called Asastriya Dvaita and there is something called Shastriya Dvaita. Even our mental acceptance of duality, there is Shastriya and Asastriya. What is Shastriya? So the karma vidhi and all the Shastriya advices which are given to us and we follow, these are fine. And so far the Asastriya Dvaita is concerned, there is Tibra and Manda. Tibra is Raga Dveshatmaka. These whole attraction and aversion that we experience is Tibra Dvaita. Tibra Asastriya Dvaita. Shastra doesn't advise us to do all that. Shastra doesn't advise what we would do as per our own biological instincts. Shastra tries to regulate these biological instincts by saying you should get up in the morning, take a bath, and do some pranayam and all that. So the advices regarding bhakti, for example, those who are bhaktivadis, sometimes they find Vedanta Darshana very challenging because it upsets their inner system. They feel emotionally let down because they have got used to a particular model of connecting with the divine through bhakti yoga. So, they do rituals, they do pujan, they do, and a Vedanti might find it completely meaningless. But for them, that is very meaningful. So, Shastra says that is Shastriya Dvaita. That Dvaita, that dualism, which they are believing in it, but it is all right. Asastriya Dvaita is more dangerous. Asastriya Dvaita means there is no injunction in the Vedas or any Shastras for indulging in that duality. Like, for example, going to a club and boozing and dancing and say getting into politics, having all kinds of secular activities. These are Asastriya Dvaita. And there Tibra and Manda. Tibra is what? Full overloaded with Raga Dvesha. that you see in the realm of politics. Every time you open the television set, you only witness stories about Asastriya Dvaita and Tibra Asastriya Dvaita. Manda Asastriya Dvaita is Monorajya. Okay, and I think we had discussed this last time. I just wanted to give a small corrective that this book, for example, says Asastriya, the Monorajya, daydreaming, which is Asastriya Manda Dvaita, that should also be renounced. Why? Because you are still playing around with your subtle ego, which is within you. You are fancying things you don't have. A lot of psychologists justify daydreaming, saying that it balances a lot of rough edges out. Everybody can never be fulfilled 100%. So they indulge in a bit of daydreaming. It's a compensation for not getting what you're looking for at whatever level. So that is the monorajya, which again is not Sastriya monorajya. So asastriya Dvaita monorajya or daydreaming is bad. But there is something called Shastriya Dvaita monorajya also. You remember Thakur, Swami Vivekananda writes some of his memories when he went to Chicago. Just imagine no food to eat, lying down with a lot of cartons and all. He slept in a corner and he's dreaming about the speech that he's going to give and how he will be accepted. And this is what? Sastriya or Sastriya? Is he fancying he's doing something, criminal activity? He is fancying about noble activity he is going to embark on. Similarly, there is a lot of research, especially in the devotional traditions, in the Christian traditions, and I am not well read on the Islamic tradition, but in Christian tradition, many of these apostles and saints and all, they do indulge in some daydreaming as part of their sadhana. The bhaktas fancy, they think about Lord Krishna. You can say actually there is no Krishna, it's all psychological delusion. However, in that sadhana, this whole experience, phenomenologically speaking, that subjective experience sometimes substantially raises your consciousness and makes it completely and protects it from the pushes and pulls of lower level vital activities. A person who fancies of, for example, going and having a lunch with Lord Krishna is not going to go and sit with people who are antisocial. They may be very rich. He's not going to go there. So these monorajya also you have to contextualize it. Asastriya monorajya, which at the root of it has ragadvesha in a very subtle form, even though it's manda monorajya, it's manda asastriya dvaita, even then you should remove it. Why? Jivana Mukti Prasiddha hai. What is Jivana Mukti Prasiddhi? Even after Tattva Jnana, that means after you have studied Vedanta, you did some meditation, you have realized it, even then you have old sanskaras still in you. It's like a boy was a very mischievous, playful guy in school and enters college, becomes very serious, but some of the mischievous habits of school persists in him for some time. If you switch off the fan still rings a few times, isn't it? Then it comes to a halt. Similarly, because there is no more kamana after Tattvajnana, prarabdha and sanskara of old karmas and vasanas may still manifest after Tattvajnana, after Atmajnana. Therefore, what is required, the Shastra prescribes what is called vasanakshaya and manonasha. In Jivanamukti Viveka, Vidyaranya Muni elaborately discusses all this. Now, we had already gone to the verse number 53. I'm just mentioning about this 51. I missed out a little. I saw in another commentary. Bodhad Urdham Chated Chatad Heyam Jivana Mukti Prasiddhaye. This Dvaita has to be renounced. Desire has to be renounced. Kamadi Klesha Bandhena Yuktasya Nahi Muktata. But first thing, in the this we have already explained that in order to firmly stabilize, consolidate your self realization, you need to leave behind this kama krodhadi, this desire, which has been rolling down in your consciousness for millions of births. We need to, we need to upstage it somehow. We need to renounce it. We have to leave it behind and move ahead. Because if you have kama adi klesha bandhena, avidya asmita raga dvesha avinivesha, all this klesha, this kamana is basically it's avidya asmita, then raga, the first word. So obviously pancha kleshena yuktasya nahi muktata, he'll not get jivan mukti. Now this next one in the verse number 52, I had discussed it, but another commentary brings it a new point. There are certain, like for example, there are stories. Bamadeva Vat. Bamadeva, from his own mom's, ovum, when he was there in the womb of his mother, he declared himself to be liberated. The moment he was born, he told mother, I'm liberated, I'm leaving the body. There was nothing here. There was some prarabdha, so I am reborn. Now he has no sadhana in this life. So he had done all his sadhana in previous life. So he just took the body, abandoned it, and got liberated. Similarly, there is a lot of slokas where they mention Siddha Pragyasya Kavhasa. Bhagwan explains in the chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita how a particular person who is Siddha Pragya, he is not troubled at all. He's not troubled, and he's not somebody who is looking for different kinds of things. Okay, so uh, give me a little time. uh, okay, so there is I don't see why it's not coming. The screen that I'm sharing, it is not showing, so I'm a little confused as to should I unshare and share again. Okay, now I'm unsharing it and I'm resharing it. Yeah. So now there are two theories over there. This Jivanamukti Dasa essentially is a stage in which the Sanchita karma and the Agami karmas are destroyed. The person has got Tattva Bodha, but because of the load of Prarabdha in the eyes of others, he has no Prarabdha. The Jnani has no Prarabdha in his own eyes. But for others, like Thakur had cancer, he was suffering. That's what we saw. He did not see this as suffering. He had transcended all this. Similarly, like Buddha had fever before he passed away. These are Atmagyanis. For others, they are in a mode of suffering because we look at their body and the mind and emotional self. We confuse that as their real self. That is what the Shastras say. Now, this Jivan Mukti Dasa, you are liberated when you still have the body. Now, there are two schools of thought in Vedanta. Some people believe in order to do stuti of Atmagyana, Jivan Mukti Dasa is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita and many other places. There is no desire, he is beyond all rules, and Kimichan Kasya Kamaya, Upanishad say, Sariram Anusanjvare. This will all come in this text also. He doesn't, the person who knows everything is Atman, then what does he look for and why, for whom? Because he's not the body, he's not the mind. So he's in that shade of Jivan Mukti. However, some Vedantic scholars believe that this is bit of an exaggeration to essentially glorify sadhakas, our yearning for Atmajnana. So in order to praise Atmajnana, these kinds of extraordinary descriptions of who is a liberated guy is mentioned. The true liberation for many people, because Shastra says Sadhya Mukti is a result of Vedanta. It's ultimately it's Videha Mukti means you leave this body, you go and you get liberated. Like in Kashmiri Saivism, they don't accept Jivana Mukti. They accept finally Videha Mukti. And they always give a lot of importance to Anugraha of Lord Shiva. Like the Vaishnavas give uh, the Ramanuja Panthis, for example, gave a lot of importance to Prapatti, Saranagati, because ultimately God's grace is required. But that's a bit of dualism there. So, coming to our perspective, Jivan Mukti is partly accepted as a fact of life in sadhana. Some people believe it is Arthavada. Arthavada is Stuti or Ninda Paraka Vakya. You say this boy is like a lion, but he's not a lion, he's just a boy. But this is Arthavada. We're just praising him. Sutya Ninda Paraka. Now let's come here. This we had already discussed it. Now this guy who is a sadhaka, he doesn't want to get rid of his ahika raga. The purpose of this Vedanta Panchadashi is to help the student actually recognize where is the major shortfall in spiritual life, where we cannot ascend to the next plane, where the mind may start playing games with us. So, keeping those issues in the mind, he is constructing verses or couplets, treating those doubts in our mind as a particular student or a Purva Pakshi who is challenging us. There is no Purva Pakshi here. It is actually the kinds of games our minds often play with ourselves when we are in spiritual sadhana. Now, it's quite possible that the Purvapaksha says, and imagine your mind tells sometimes that I am not interested in Jivan Mukti. I want Videha Mukti. What is Videha Mukti? Absence of Punarjanma, absence of a return to earth after you have abandoned this body. Now he says, what's your problem if I actually engage in a bit of, bit of desires here? Ahika bhoga, ahika kamana. Ahika means in this life. So, I mean, there are a lot of people who have done it. So he says that, okay, I want to eat a little well and I want to move around, I want to do this. What's your problem? How is it conflicting with spirituality? Somebody might say this. I tell you, the trick here is that in Sarvakarma Sannyasa, you have to abandon all desires. Now, you cannot say that, can I play chess or can I listen to a bit of cricket commentary or follow politics or go and do rafting? There are some interesting things. Like, for example, in Rishikesh. Now, if you search YouTube, you will find a lot of videos about young boys and girls, sometimes older people, coming for bongi jumping. They're going adventure sports. Suddenly, it has gained, and a lot of foreign companies have come. So they will jump from 200, 300 meters and then they are received back. And that's got like wildfire among younger population. Now just imagine you have taken sannyasa, but this you hadn't done because those days this was not available in India, in all parts of India. It's only available now in certain parts. So what do? You do it or you don't do it. Now if you do it, what's wrong? If that is the question. That in this life I want to indulge in a few innocent pleasures. What's the problem? Then he says, do you know this? Because of the fear of losing ahika sukha bhoga, fear of losing out on a fuller experience of life through ahika sukha, worldly pleasures. Let's imagine innocent pleasures, childlike pleasures, then worldly pleasures. If you are very keen to hang on to this desire, then why are you so obsessed that you will not come back, you will not be reborn? Because even if you have Swarga Prapti, you're saying, I'm not interested in Swarga Prapti. I am ready to go and get Videha Mukti. That's what you want to argue. That is the human mind will say, let me enjoy life, but once I'm dead, I'll not come back. I'll get Videha Mukti. He says, now you are retaining the mother of all problems, which is desire. At the root of desire is ignorance about who you are. If you have Atmajnana, you cannot simultaneously establish or correlationship of who you are and what you are thinking and how you are with desire on the one hand, and then a complete understanding that you don't want to come back. If you don't want to come back, what is so, you know, what holds you in rapture so far this life is concerned? What is so enchanting about this life? And if there is something so enchanting about this life, how is that you don't want to come back? If you value something in this life so deeply, how can you argue that I don't want to come back, I want to get liberation? That's a kind of psychological self contradiction. That is what he explained here. So, the argument of Purvapakya that let there be no Jivana Mukti, I'm happy with Videha Mukti. In the Ramakrishna Tika, those of you who are a little more interested, it's all in Sanskrit. So, there is Prasad Modak, Professor Prasad Modak, he has written a very additional commentary on this Tika, Ramakrishna Tika, and below that he has written Tippanis, and you can have a look at it. Okay, because of the paucity of time, I'm not going. I just wanted to tell you, Jivana Mukti is not. There is no consensus. One school of thought says that this is just an idea to make you more excited about sadhana. This is for Stuti of Atmajnana. This is Arthavada. Shruti per se actually only talks about Sadyamukti. That's one particular argument. Taking that, if a person becomes a little tempted that let me enjoy life, there is nothing called Jivana Mukti. I will directly work for Videha Mukti. It's like let me not go to the library. Let me enjoy my life. However, I'll do my research part very well. Coursework doesn't matter because I'll be working on my thesis. You will actually not complete your coursework. You may flunk in the coursework. Never start writing the thesis because these are all correlated. That's what the Shastra says. Therefore, in the 53, as we have done it, Khyati Sayadoshena Swargo Heyo Yada Tada. Now, you want to get Jivanamukti? No, you are not interested. You want Videha Kavyalya? Yes, Videha Mukti, yes. How? By renouncing your attachment for Swarga Sukha. And why you want to leave it? Because he is now having a conversation with the Purvapakya, which is the human mind. The human mind driven by Ajnana is the Purvapakya here. So he's saying Khyati Saya Doshena. Khya means that anything which diminishes over time. That is Khya. And Sati Sayata is sometimes rises, sometimes falls, uncertain, anitya. Khyatva and Sati Sayatva. Sometimes you may have intense happiness, sometimes you may have intense sadness. Khyatishaya doshena swarga heyo yada. If you think swarga is heya means tyajya, then swayang dosa tamatmayam kamadhi king na hiyate. Now there is one sentence that is what is most important here. Dosha tamatma tada dosha tamatma dosha tamatvam yasya kamasya. The desire it is what is the swarupa of kamana, that it is the worst thing to have. Doshatama, it is full of flaws. Why? Because it's going to induce downward pull in our consciousness. Dosatama sakala purushartha vidvansagatvena. Why that dosatamatva? Sakala purushartha, dharma artha kama moksha. If there is predominance of kama as such, craving in us, then we cannot even successfully pursue dharma or artha, or even in a legal, nice, moral way. We cannot even pursue the goal of material life and intimacy. Because this one of the study things, most of the people who indulge in all kinds of sexual deviance are people who are actually afraid of morally sanctioned loving intimacy with a partner. Their minds are twisted. So they would not like to be in a legally approved, morally acceptable relationship with a partner. They will indulge in all kinds of low level mental digressions, and that's what is called perversion. Now he's saying sakala purushartha vidvansagatvena atyanta dosha swarupaha kamadi. Desire is the nature. It is atyanta vidvansaka, it will destroy everything. King na hirete, why don't you destroy it? Atyanta heyam eva iti bhavaha. It is most tyajya. You should always renounce and forego and leave it behind. Kama karma phalabhutasya swarga sukhasya kshaitvena heyatva heyatvena angikare. If you are ready to accept swarga is heya, tyajya. Why? Because it's kshait, it is going to be there for a while. It's not nitya. Then if that is you are saying, what is the root cause of this? Tat karanabhutasya kamadirapi kshayatvat. So Kamana and Swarga Sukha, they have a similarity, Shaitva and Sati Saitva. There is intensity, rise and fall in intensity of the experience. Number one, it's anyway Anitya. It's Shaitva. It will evaporate after some time. That is about desire and fulfillment of desires. It's also about going to Swarga Sukha. But Kamana has one additional deficiency. What is that? Sakala Purushartha Vighatakatvena. In addition to being having that khaitva and having this satisaitva, another deficiency it has, that will opposite the apple cart. Kamadi kingna hiyate ubhayoropi khaitva avisheshana. So swarga, swargavat kamadirapi heyaha. So you are ready to forego swarga because you are ready to go for kaibalya prakti. Then what is the point of hanging around here and sort of holding on to this sansara that I cannot deal without it right now. If you are ready to go for vidya mukti, this means sansara should not draw your attention. Now there is a bit of, I will go to the verse number 54, having done this small introduction that is mentioned here. Nanu niskama karma charanina. So you will do niskama karma. Suddha chittasya, then your mind gets purified. Suddha chittasya jigyasa udayat. There is, once you have vairagya, then your mind will be interested in a higher state of exploration regarding spiritual secrets of life. A lot of people have noted about Sri Aurobindo's life. Apparently, there was an arranged marriage and he didn't say and he get married. And look at his life. He's going on his honeymoon with his sister and his so-called wife, with whom he had no relationship. And his wife, sister has noted down that, and it is recorded history. So he used to study and write. He was writing something on Vedas those days. He was in Baroda College, working for the King of Baroda. He didn't want to work for the British. Now he used to engage himself in scholarly work till 2:33 in the night, and he used to get up in the morning again, early morning. But that is how his mind, a lot of people have seen, he was most comfortable when he is dealing with high philosophical texts or classical literature. His mind is most comfortable. And it's most uncomfortable when it is dealing with everyday life experiences. But most of us are happy with everyday life experiences. We feel sleepy when we are asked to look for something which is otherwise meaningful. Yeah. So therefore he's saying, when the mind becomes purer and transparent and cleaner, then there is a desire to know what is the meaning of life, what is the text saying about the Vedantic text. Then a person may have some healthy curiosity. Jigyasa udayat paramparaya nishriyesa sadhana chitta suddhi sampadanartham amusmika falakamana sarvada tyajya. This is a long queue of causality he's showing. You want nishriyasa. What is? Videha kaivalya, moksha. And then what is required? You need to have a pure mind. How it gets tainted? When you have terrible amount of craving for swarga sukha, which requires you to do a lot of karma kandas, lot of divine rituals to go to swarga. So you are trapped in a circle of doing something for swarga sukha, and then swarga sukha you will come back here again. So you want to forego all that. Okay. And therefore he's saying, Evam cha tatra vairagyam eva paramparaya nishreyasa sadhanatiya. So how do you go there? You need vairagya. Vairagya towards what? Swarga sukha. So paramparaya निःश्रेयस साधनतया तस्य एव हेयत्वम अंगीकार्यम कस्य कामस्य द डिजायर्स यू हैव कामादेः हेयत्वम अंगीकार्यम ऐहिक फलभोग कामनायाः परंपरा निःश्रेय साधनाम आमुस्मिक वैराग्य विरोधित्वात् Kamana kimiti tyajya. Now he is asking another question. What is the question in the human mind? Is a Purvapakya. Who is the Purvapakya? Our dull mind. Our lower self is actually the Purvapakya. The Purvapakya says that you need not have any attachment for Swarga Sukha. Going to Swarga doesn't come for free. You have to do a lot of karmakandas. You need a lot of money. You need Vitteshana, Putreshana, Lokeshana. You need all these asanas. Then you can go and sit and do a Soma Yagya to go to heaven. Right? It's a tall order. So therefore you have Vairagya. You have detachment, cultivate detachment towards certain things which fascinate you, like Shwarga. That is the advice. Now he's asking, but why should I renounce my Falakamana during Ahika Sukha Bhoga? I want to have a car, I want to have a house, I have a wife, I have children, or I don't have a wife, I have some friends. I want to meet and spend and have some good time. What's the problem? I'm already keeping my mind pure. I'm not doing karma kandas to go to Swarga, and I'm not trying to be powerful. I don't have any craving for Swarga Sukha. Heavens hold no promise so far I am concerned, but allow me to indulge in a few pleasures on earth. That is his doubt. Kimiti Tyajya, why should I leave it? Because it's not directly in conflict. My Swarga Amusmika Artha Falabhoga Viraga. Amusmika Artha, that is Swarga. Falabhoga, Swarga Falo Viraga. You don't want to have it. Therefore, you are practicing Vairagya. That is the causal chain that is established. Then you will get Videha Kaivalya or Videha Mukti. Done. Why should I forego my small pleasures in this life? I play a little table tennis, I watch a little cricket, I have a pet dog, I love a few holidays, I love little good food. What's your problem? That's this question. Now look at the answer. Sadhana Chatushte Antargatam, now he's further arguing. Vairagyam Amutra Phalabhoga Viraga Phalabhoga Aviraga Phalabhoga Icha Viraga Eva. Now, Vairagyam is what? Amutra. Iha Mutra, that is what Shastra says. He's saying Amutra means Amushmika, related to Swarga. Phalabhoga, that's a Viraga. So you are not interested having Swarga Phala. Na ahika Phalabhoga Viraga. But Sansarika Phalabhoga, yeah, if you have a car, you drive it. You have a wife, you have a conjugal life, have a few children. What's your problem? Tasya Ukta Karana Parampara Anantah Patitvat, because he says it's not mentioned. Only he's saying that Amushmika thing. However, he is explaining the teacher, Ityangsha, It Angseika, Ahika Falabhoga Biragasyapi Sadhana Chatusteya Antapatitvam Pratibandaka Bhava Vidhaya iti asena aha tattvamiti. Now the teacher, the Siddhanti, is explaining nicely. You have not understood properly. In Sadhana Chatushtaya, pick up the book Tattva Bodha by Bhagavan Shankaracharya, and he says, Vairagya kim? Iha mutrartha falabhoga viraga. Iha and amutartha, martya and swarga. You don't want to crave for the pleasures associated with power and privilege on earth or in Swargaloka. That is what is Vairagya. Here is also added. You cannot say, I'm ready to renounce Swarga when you are like an insect in the sansara looking for pleasures of your own. That's a confusing attitude. That is what he mentions. The verse number 54, very significant verse. Tattam buddhapi kamadin निःशेषं न जहासि चेत् यथेष्टाचरणं ते स्यात् कर्मशास्त्रातिलङ्घिनः. He's saying, you understand, my dear friend, what are you saying? You want to have Vaideha Mukti, Videha Mukti, Videha Kaivalya. Therefore, you don't want to have Swarga Sukha. You want to hang on to this Ahika Sukha, material life, associated pleasures of this life. That's a very mean level of entrapment, actually. Therefore, he's saying, Tattvam Buddhvapi, even if you understand this sansara is a joke, ultimately Brahman is real. Jagan Mithya means neither Sat nor Mithya. It's not Tucha, it's Vyavaharika Satya. Doesn't give you liberation, can never give you peace of mind. So, Tattvam Buddhvapi, having known this, Kamadin Nishesam no jahasi iti chet, and you are not able to renounce kamadins, all other problems associated with this present life. Kama, krodha, loha, moha, madam, ashcharya, and all other associated desires in samsara. He's saying, if you want to say this, do you know, if you grant yourself a veto power that I will like to enjoy my life on earth, and then I will work for liberation. If you talk like this, please understand, Yatheshta Charanam Te Syat. Tava Yatheshta Charanam Syat. If you talk like this, you don't follow the real spiritual advice. Like a lot of the followers of Osho did. He said something superlatively fantastic spiritually. People acting to their own demeanor, own inclinations, understood it and applied it in their lives. And then you know what happened. All kinds of violations, all kinds of tragedies all around. So yatheshtacharanam te means tavasya. Then you will be a victim of being restless without any discrimination and moving anywhere your mind drives you to. And what kind of a person you would be? Karma Sastra Atilanginaha. Somebody who indulges in transgression of the sacred texts and scriptures, who prescribe and approve of only a moderate material life, with temperance, with dedication to God, with prayer, with a lot of nishkama karma. You have a few mean pleasures of life, that's okay. But as per the Shastras, but you will become Jatheshtacharana. You will like to do whatever you want. Look at the commentary that is explained. Tattvam Buddhvapi, knowing the Tattva, the Swarupa of Brahman, Kamadi Nishesham na jahasi chet, if you cannot get rid of all your desires, Nishesham, without anything left, you have to burn them up. And if you fail to do it, Ahika Phala Kamanam Nishesham na tyajasi tet, the sansarika desires and cravings you have, if you cannot forsake them. Karma Sastra Atilanghinah, Karma Adhikritya Kritam Yas Sastram Tasya Maryadam Atikramya Utpata iti Hetugarva Visheshanam. Then you jump around, he's saying, whatever is the Kama Sastra, Karma Sastra, how to be in life, what is moral action, even if you are doing Kame Karmas, what you should do and what you shouldn't do. These moral scripture will not apply to you. Why? You will claim that I'm Atmayani. So I'm not going to abide by any rules because I'm beyond all rules. But you are still having desire in you. So you are as good as anybody else, despite all your intellectual pretension that you have read the Upanishads. That's what he's saying. Hetu garva visheshanam te jatheshta charanam ahika bhoga prayojaka nishiddha karmacharanam apishyat prasajeta. The prasanga, the chances that you may indulge in transgressions of the Shastra, a lot of gurus do it. It doesn't apply to me. So some of these gurus who try to exploit women around them, and what do they say? For you, they are women. For them, they are. For me, they are just soul. And then they indulge in all kinds of wrong things. Pratibadhe vasyat ateva vakhyati. Therefore, it said, I say, vairagyasya paripako bhavo bodhe satyapi tasya punnatam na sampadayati iti. Therefore, the Shastra says, ateva vakhyati. Shastra says what? Vairagyasya bhava. If detachment, you have not actually perfected it. Paripaka abhavo, bodhe satyepi, but you have parokya jnana, you have studied Upanishads, but you haven't addressed that core inner issue of craving. Then what happens? Tasya purnatam na sampadayati. This tattva jnana that you get is not going to give you moksha, purnatam. Purna bodhasya eva moksha hetutvam iti. So only when you have comprehensive understanding integrated with your consciousness will you get liberation. Otherwise, there will be a dual life where at one level you are a Vedanti, you know the secrets and everything. At another level, you are just another human being who, except for the stage when he was speaking on Vedanta, he is perhaps trapped in samsara as badly as anyone else. And that's a very sorry state of affairs. Purnabodhasya eva mukhya hetutvam vairagya taritamyam asti iti cha. And then, so far detachment is concerned, there is dridha vairagya, there is manda vairagya, these differences are also there. So anybody who wears saffron clothes doesn't get liberated. Very self-critical here. Tatra karma shastra atilanghena ityuktva tattvam buddhapi ityatra upata bodha vastuto na bodha. So you read some books, you can give some speeches. But the critical thing is that there is no introspection and you haven't been able to recognize your own weakness. And until you have done it, you might give gift to some women or some young woman, anything, saying that I'm just full of compassion, whereas you are actually targeting one particular woman for her attention. You are dying for her attention and the importance that she gives you. That's what some of the spiritual gurus have done in the past, whether it is Buddhism or Hinduism or even some Muslim cults, wherever you have these kinds of practices available. So you have to understand that this is not bodha, kintu buddhatva abhimana eva. This is only your egoistic, you are just bragging about the fact that you have studied all Upanishads, but that is not liberation because you are still trapped in kamana. यथेष्टाचरण आपादनमपि कामाधीन आचरण आपादन param eva. What is yateshtacharana? Yateshta means whatever you want, you will do. So, will you give away all your wealth? Will you become a beggar and go somewhere? No. Yateshtacharana invariably will see that people are acting through for their ego, with their ego, and to expand their ego. They are quoting the shastras. It's like devil explaining Bible to you. Devil explaining the scripture to you. Therefore, he's saying बुद्धित्वाभिमान यथेष्टाचरण आपादनमपि कामादि अधीन आचरण आपादन param eva. Please understand, when you can do anything, most likely you will do everything according to craving in you. So you need to recognize who is the thief. The thief is the craving in our deep subconscious. Then he's saying, Natu niskama acharana para. See, this jatheshta acharana, by doing jatheshta acharana, nobody renounces or nobody gives away his wealth or importance or power. Generally, everything is aligned with the ego and the craving. Therefore, it's not niskama acharana para. Ataeva brahma sakhyatkaravataha karma sastra anapekhyam uktam अन्यत्र निस्तृगुण्ये पथि विचरताम को विधि को निषेधः इति सूचितम्. Somebody was gone beyond these three gunas. Yeah, so Bhagavan also tells Arjuna that you go beyond these three gunas. He's saying, Nistraigunya Pathi Vicharatam, the man who is on the path of not Trigunatmika Maya, but on the path of Brahman. Nistrigunya Pathi Vicharatam, Ko Vidhi Ko Nishedha, the person who has renounced what is Vidhi Nishedha for him, what is injunction for him. He is all the time established in the self. इति सूचितम् अनेन तस्य विधि निषेध अनपेक्षेत्व मुक्तम न तु तद उल्लंघनम. Now this sheet looks like there's a print error, so I have just mentioned ana. There is no other book available, no other print of this particular copy. Anena, by this sentence, vidhi nishedha, he's saying apekshatvam uktam. Apekshatvam you can also write saying that vidhi nishedha he doesn't follow, but vidhi nishedha he will not flout in that sense. To natu tad ulanghanam means vidhi nishedha ulanghanam. He will not break the laws of society because he is a monk or is a sannyasi or tantri. Evam sati tattvabodha anantaram grihasthasramaha samagratah tyajya eva bhavati. Then once you, because sarvakarma sannyasa is the step, once you have decided to surmount all desires in you and you want to become a monk, then please mind it. You cannot stay in your house anymore, saying that everything is taken care. I know quite a few people. They're married and they don't even do jobs, and all the wife on money and they study Vedanta, sitting at home, and children and wife and all, they are working. They don't do anything. Thakur had shouted at a guy like that. He's saying, no, no, that's not. You have to remove your house from your consciousness. You cannot be a sannyasi and spiritualist when you are still at home doing nothing. If you're doing nishkama karma, that is fine. But nishkama karma, you're not doing anything, you're just relaxing with their money. That's not what gives you liberation. Then further he writes, Jnana karmanor atyanta virodhat grihasthashrama and vairagya and Vedanta abhyasa. They may not simultaneously go unless you find some time. If husband wife both are Vedanta interested, that is different. But generally, he's saying that sansara has a different direction, and this jnana parampara has a different direction. They cannot meet together. Therefore, he's saying that's not atyanta virodha. Sarira dharanartham bhikhyatanader niyamena turya ashramopi vihitatva tasyapi niyama bhava bhava eva. Niyama bhava bhava. Niyama bhava means no rules. Niyama bhava abhava means no. There are certain rules applicable in the this cyclical way of conversing, that is the Nyaya Bhasa. Now what he is trying to say here, Turiya Ashram means fourth ashram. What is that? Sannyasa ashram. Sarira dharanartham, in order to retain the body. Bhikhyatanader niyamena, because Shastra also says you can beg only at 7 houses. 3 houses, 5 houses, 7 houses. And then after 7 houses, you are not going to ask anyone for money. You will stay hungry for that day. That is the rule. So there are strict rules in Sannyasa Upanishads what a person has to do. Therefore, Bhikhyatanader niyamena turyashramepi bhitatvat. So Bhikhyatana for food and all, there are rules set out in, it's called Yati Dharma, Sangraha. There are some books, certain commentaries, certain main injunctions and sentences about how we should behave for sannyasis written, and we have to strictly abide by that. Therefore, he is saying, Niyama bhava bhava bhikhyatanadeha kaya klesha paribhavadi anishta hetor esanatraya parityaga anantaram api baram swagruham eva nivasa iti chet na. Somebody might say, sir, do you know how difficult it is to get alms these days? Uttarakhand people might give you 2 rotis. You go to Orissa, Bengal, nobody gives you the dakshina every day. Swami Vivekananda had to abandon his brahmachari. He said, you go, let's stay at different places. In Calcutta, nobody will give you food. So they split from each other and started doing Bharat Brahman. He was barely 23 as head of the mission at that time. Similarly, he's saying, Kaya Klesha Paribhavadi Anishta Hetuho Esanatraya Parityaga Anantaramapi Varam Swogruhe Eva Nivasha. Do you know, my friend, asking for food, living a life without any financial backing and alone in a different place is not so easy. So after you have done Sarvakarma Sannyasa, I'm not interested in money or house or additional wealth. Can you give me the basic minimum that I require to go and sit and study and write whatever I want before my death? That is the question. He's saying, no, that is not true. Tasya kama prayuktatvat. After you leaving everything, you want to hang around your own house, your wife and children. There is desire in that. Sarira dharana matra ichyatopi swagruha nivasaha kama prayukta eva. If a person just wants to live and therefore he says, it's too cold in the Himalayas, let me stay here. So if he starts arguing like this, he's just making a fun of this whole sannyasa. He is not ready yet for tattva jnana. Swagruha abhimana Abhimana dushicasya, and then you will have gruha abhimana as a grihastramami. That is also a dosha. That also is going to pull your legs downwards. Then Sri Vishesha Vishishtam Eva Griham iti Esanatraya Parityagaha Swa Griha Nivasasya iti Paraswaram Viruddheta. Now, Sri Vishesha Vishishtam Eva Griham iti Esanatraya Parityagaha. The moment you stay in house, invariably whether you like it or not, you're going to interact with your wife and she will have her questions to ask, and then you will give your replies, and there could be a quarrel, there could be several responsibilities, and you may have desire. Once you know all this, it's very important that you cannot argue that I will take sannyasa, stay at home. That is vanaprastha. One day you have to leave everything and go. Yeah, therefore you cannot put them together. Craving in this sansara, either as a vanaprasthi or as a brahmachari, or somebody who is convinced about the Vedantic path but not ready to sannyasa, nobody accepts. That's a very valid thing he's saying. Swagruha nivasascheti paraswaram viruddheta asanachadana इच्छा मात्र स्यापि काम प्रयुक्तत्वाद. Even a bit of consideration for food and clothes and the kind of ichha that you want to have about it, that also is samyak jnana pratibandhakam eva sabhavati. They also obstruct your path to knowledge. Any attachment in any form will obstruct your path. Now, if you say, so what? I don't care for all this. Do you know I am almost liberated? If you argue like this, the answer is like this. Nanu tattvavidaha yateshtacharanam yadi anumanyate तथा ऐहिक फल कामनापि अनुमता स्यादिति न एषा आपादन योग्य. If, because the teacher says, okay, you do jatheshtacharana, the Shishya says, okay, let me do it, because you said you also allow me a bit of sansarika buddhi and because a bit of ahika kamana. What's your problem? Because you are saying that there is no vidhi nisheda for the jnani. भवतोपि अभिमतत्वाद इति आशंक्य तत्र सुरेश्वराचार्य वचनम आचष्टे बुद्धेति. In order to silence any counter argument in the stupid mind in all of us while we are doing Vedanta, which is described as Purvapakya, if mind says, yeah, but he has taken sannyas, he has nothing to do, and there is no whatever encumbrances that he has to deal with in life, so he let him do what he wants. I'm a monk, I can do anything. If you are talking like this, Sureshwaracharya, who has written the Bhashya, he has written Bhashya Vartika on Vidyaranya Upanishad and Naiskramya Siddhi, he says, Buddhadvaita swatatvasya yateshtacharanam yadi sunam tattvadrisham shaiva kubhedo suchi bhakshane. If you say, are you stupid? You are now trying to compare a person who is a swechachari, my way or highway kind of a person. Buddha Advaita Swatatvasya, a person who knows that the Swarup of Atma, he has entered into Akhandakara Vritti, is established, is a Atmarati, Atmarama, that kind of a person. Yatheshtacharanam jadi, if he indulges in Yatheshtacharanam, which is asastriya karma, against the Shruti Vakyas giving certain injunctions about a moderate life. He wants to do anything he wants. Why? Because I have done Atmagyan, I have read all the Upanishads. Then, Sunam Tattva Drisham Chaiva. Suna means of the dogs, Tattva Drisha means of the Tattva Darshis. What is the difference? The dog will just Swechachari. He will do whatever he wants. Now, you want to behave like a dog because you said, I have studied Vedanta, Sarira is not real. You are having 5, 6 girlfriends, or you are a monk. He says, whose monks? Whose girlfriends? I didn't say any of this. For you people, this is relevant. I'm Atma Jnani. I see only Atma everywhere. I might go to club, I might drink, I might take non-veg food. So what? Everything is Brahman for me. For you, you'll find a lot of people in everyday life who argue like that. So he's saying, okay, what is the difference between a Tattvadarshi like you and a dog? Both of you are at the same level. Ko bhedo asuchi bhakshane, because asuchi, he takes human faces, yeah, whatever, the excreta and all kinds of dirty things. And you, sansarika kamanadi, have a predominant presence in you, and therefore accordingly you will do anything you want. Buddhadvaisa, Buddhadvaita स्वतत्वस्य buddham advaitasya swatattvam nijaswarupam. Swatattva means nijaswarupam of what? That satyam jnanam anantam brahma, of that atma. Yena yasya jatheshtacharanam swecha vrittir yadi angikriyate. If you accept, he is free to do whatever he wants because he is a brahma jnani. Tada, if that is so, then sunam kukurunam. In Sanskrit also, there's so much of similarity between Oriya and in Sanskrit. So he's saying kukura is also a Sanskrit word. So he's saying sunam kukuranam tattvadrisham jnaninam asuchi bhakshane ko veda na kopi. The dog eats all kinds of dirty things, and this guy goes to a club and drinks and takes meat and stuff like that. More or less the same. What is the difference between him and a dog? विशेषाभावे इष्टापत्तिरिति बदन्तं प्रति सोपहासम उत्तरमाह. Somebody may says, yeah, there is no difference. So what? What is the problem? I'm Atmagyani. Therefore, he's explaining. Do you know what is the problem if you do Jatheshtacharanam? Sopahasam. Mockingly he says, बोधात् पुरमनो दोष मात्रात् क्लिश्यस्य थाधुना अशेषलोक निंदाम चे त्यहोते बोध वैभवम. He's saying, what maturity you have, what Vedantic self-understanding you have, oh my dear. Aho, te bodha vaibhavam. Look at the wealth of your self-realization. What is the stupidity of your so-called wealth of realization? Is using the word to point at the stupidity of the guy who brags about his self-realization. Why? Because bodhat pura, before you had atmagyana, before you have atmagyana, manadosha matrat klishyasi. Because of these, the impure mind that you have, you are suffering klesha. Avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, avinivesha, pancha kleshas. You suffer because of an impure mind, and your impurity is traceable to the samsara. And what is the root of this impurity? Ajnana. The root cause is ajnana. If you don't realize it, then you have asmita and raga, dvesha, avinivesha, everything. Therefore, he's saying, ahote, so you will not only, first thing, you are not having atmajnana. Then you are doing yatheshtacharanam. Do you know what people will do? Sansari who does it, that's okay for him. You have got Tattva Jnana, you are a sannyasi, then you are indulging in it. What people will do to you? They'll treat you with their sandals. He's saying, Asesa Loka Ninda. They will criticize you, they might get physical with you, and they might do social media, different kinds of posts on you to devastate you psychologically. You need to understand it. Therefore, he says, very quickly we'll finish it, Bodhat pura tava abhimata jnanotpattehe purvam. Before you had self-realization, manadosha matrat, because of these impurities in your mind, manasaha kama krodhadayaha te doshaha, ye doshaha tat matrena eva hetuna klishyasi. Only because of that, yeah, you are suffering. अधुना आफ्टर आत्मज्ञान तादृश ज्ञान उत्पत्ति अनंतरम अशेष लोक निंदा. नाउ यथेष्टाचरणम यू आर कंटिन्यूइंग. आत्मज्ञान हो गया. Yeah, now you are a monk, and then you go buy bidis or cigarettes or drink. You go to a film hall to see movies. What other people are going to do? How the hell he is coming here? You know, they are going to set away, even if they are very mean minded and they may be indulging in very low level activities, they will look at you with a lot of amusement, sometimes frustration and an anger might get violent with you. If you go to watch film and do everything which a college student does, but you have renounced, then you are saying, I'm Atmagyani. So he's saying, Manasaha kama krodhadeyaha ye dosaha तत्मात्रेण एव हेतुना क्लिश्यति अधुना तादृश ज्ञान उत्पत्ति अनंतरम अशेषो लोक निंदाम यथेष्टाचरण प्रयुक्ता सर्वलोकैहि क्रियमाणा निंदा तत् प्रयुक्तः क्लेश इति यावत्. So what happened to one of the professors in Bangalore a couple of days before? He apparently proposed to a student, a medical student, a girl, in the classroom. He was treated to their sandals by the guys, boys and girls. They beat him up outside. What is the problem? That is Jathishta Charanam. He indulges in that. He's a teacher, he knows. But then he indulges in that low level activity without realizing what he should and what he shouldn't. Then he will get a lot of lokaninda tat prayukta klesha yavat. Gets difficulties. Evam klesha द्वैगुण्यम तबापि इत्यतो आह te bodham bodha vaibhavam. You know, that guy who is in sansara because of some craving, he might get bitten and stuff like that, but you are a sannyasi, you are a student of Vedanta, and he was driving in this, you metro to wherever in ashram you are staying, and you are staying